Hey guys, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. It's almost springtime here in Pennsylvania, and that means everyone's getting out their two-wheeled machines and motorcycles and scooters and stuff. So today in the shop we have this 2009, I don't know what this is, Pier Speed Key West model. I think it's made somewhere in the mainland. Let's see here. Taiwan, right there. Taiwan Golden Bee Company Limited. All right. Customer complaint is well, the history. He got it a few years ago, out of all places, at a Chevy dealership. All right, and he said it ran for a little while, and then he parked it and couldn't get it started. So he brought it back to the dealership, and they tinkered with it, and I guess they got it to run, and it ran for another couple days, and then it died on him again, and he couldn't get it started. So he's, fed up with that, so he brought it over here. So let's see if we can get this beast up and running. Just put a new battery in it. It actually has an ignition key, believe it or not. An oil light. Fuel gauge, everything works. It probably has old gas in there, but might be a concern. So the button here doesn't do anything because apparently this is the base model. It's not equipped with an electric start, but we have a good old-fashioned Kickstarter here. So turns over and everything. You can kick it all day long. It won't fire. Quickest check you can do here, I took the air box off. There's the carburetor. Very simple, just single carb. I'll give it a little shot of vintage starting fluid. This is courtesy of Big Al. He threw this in for, for his diagnosis on his Ford that you just saw recently. So I'll give it a little shot of the good stuff. Alright, and give it a kick. Fires right up. It runs. For a while. Seems to have good throttle response. Cool, right? We'll shut it off. Try to start it without starting fluid here. Fires right up. Alright. But after running for a while, it kind of bogs down and stalls out. Woo! Two-stroke, baby, two-stroke. There we go. See? Nothing. Like it ran out of gas. Try to restart it. That's it. So we had a cold start issue. Okay, it ran for a good, good long time, definitely enough to use up the starting fluid, and then eventually died. So a couple variables here on this model. I was kind of wondering what this thing is. Any carbureted vehicle needs a choke to richen up the mixture for a cold start. And here, this little gizmo is actually an electric choke. You can see better from this side. It's two-wire solenoid, I guess, plunger. And, well, it comes from, wherever the ignition source, I don't know what controls it, But anyways, what I want to do right now is see if this thing ever, if there's any current passing through that at any point in time, because that's key for a cold start. So, set my amp clamp on, the lowest setting, so 1 volt is going to equal 10 amps. Turn on our multimeter. Let's re-zero the amp clamp here. Push the button. Alright. So, I'm assuming here now I don't have any material on this. No wiring diagrams, no anything. That turning the key on, especially when it's cold, should energize that plunger. And it doesn't seem to be doing anything. There's no current flow going through that solenoid. When I kick it, nothing. Now the other issue is, we got it started with starting fluid, right? And we ran it long enough to warm it up, a little bit at least. You would think it would stay running, but then it just falls flat on its face. So you wouldn't need the choke after a brief warm-up period, but why does it die? Is there a fuel feed issue? I mean, initially it had great throttle response, and then it kind of just petered out, and that's it. So we also have to consider how the fuel gets to this carburetor. And here's the line from the gas tank right here. He has a fuel filter. And then there's a little vacuum actuated valve that shuts off the gas when you turn this guy off. There's no manual, petcock or anything. And the vacuum line is right here, this little rubber hose connected to the vacuum side of the carburetor after the throttle slide. So another variable is if the float in here, the valve opens up, I know that much, and I'll show you how to check that. But if the float in here, if the little needle is stuck or something, it fills up really slowly, then we run the bike for a while, and this depletes the bowl and it doesn't fill up fast enough, then we could get the symptom of what we saw, would just fall flat on its face until this thing refills itself. So we might have several issues here. We know that there's never any current passing through this little solenoid with a choke, so that would explain a cold start issue. And then for some reason it just runs out of fuel. So the other experiment we can do is start it up with starting fluid. Let's try that again. Give it a little squirt. And see how long it runs, and when it dies, try to restart it with starting fluid and see if it dies instantly. That would mean we're losing fuel, in the fuel bowl. So key on. See how long it runs. Great throttle response. I don't know if this is a SULEV. Do you guys think this is a California emissions vehicle or what? Still have nothing on our choke solenoid. Alright, here we go. About to die. Here we go. So it takes a while. Alright, we're dead, and that was about a minute of running. So let's try to quickly restart it. Start it up again. That's it. Done. Start up again. So I don't think we're losing spark. Another thing we can do is try to keep it running by enriching the mixture manually, meaning just covering this bore with your hand. That'll restrict the airflow and it'll suck in more fuel, and that way we can check if we still have fuel in here. If we can keep it running just by restricting the airflow, that will tell me that it's not a fuel feed issue to the bowl. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to start it up. When it starts to die, I'm going to cover up the bore and see if we keep it running. Alright, so we just saw there that covering up this bore and restricting the airflow actually, kept it running. So I guess we're running really lean. So let's, we got to check the solenoid, make sure that works, and then, we have fuel in the bowl that just proved that. So we might have to tear this little guy apart and see what's going on in there. Maybe the main jet is clogged, and there's definitely something wrong. So doing some quick voltage checks on the control for that electric choke. So I have it unplugged, and we're back probing both wires on the on the harness side. And I just have a test light connected to battery positive there. Test light works. And here I'm just going to check if these wires are grounded or positive. So the key is on. Checking one side. We have a bright light, that's ground. Checking the other side. That is also a ground. That's kind of strange. So both wires are grounded all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter where the key is. Leave that there. Turn the key on and off. No difference. That guy right there. Turn the key on and off. Take the key out. So you would assume it's either power side switched or ground side switched, but at this point it looks like both wires are just solid grounds, and that's not correct. So at this point I could either tear it apart and trace the wires or go online and find a wiring diagram. So let me do a little research here. Another quick bypass test we can do. So I have the electric choke solenoid back probed, and the leads are just running to the battery here. So when I touch, positive and negative, we'll just feed the solenoid and see what current it draws and see if it clicks. So here we go. I'm touching it right now. About 0.6 of an amp. Off, on. I don't hear any clicks, so it's there's continuity through the solenoid, but it's not clicking. So maybe the solenoid's bad. We know for sure the control's not doing anything. So we could have several issues here. Alright guys, thank goodness for Google. I looked up some wiring diagrams, not for this specific bike, but just a generic Chinese 50cc scooter. And I'm just curious how this, electric choke works. And here it is, the starting enrichment thermal valve. Okay, it's 2 wires. The green wire is just the ground. Or you can also, go through a resistor here. So that, that's a variable. The other wire comes from the alternator, and that feeds the enrichment valve, and then this regulator rectifier, and let's see what else here. I guess the rear tail lights or something. But anyways, this thing is only active when the bike is running. So all of our key on, engine off tests were not valid. That's why basically when we checked both these wires, they're both grounds. Because when the bike is off, the alternator isn't spinning, it's not feeding any voltage. So when we take a test light from battery positive and touch it on either of these pins, it'll light up, the path to ground that way, or through the tail lights. So basically we need to check the circuit with the bike running. And the way it's supposed to work is, the bike is off. By default, this valve cools down and opens up a passage in the carburetor to provide more fuel. As the bike runs, the current goes through this valve and slowly heats it up, and eventually that passage closes off and your mixture becomes, leaner. The choke turns off basically. So I think that explains why the bike actually ran for a couple minutes. It didn't start on its own. But once it started, it ran decent while this valve was still open. But in a couple minutes of running, everything works as it should. The valve heats up, it closes off, and then the mixture is just too lean and the bike falls on its face and dies, unless you richen the mixture, plug the bore with your finger or something. But anyways, it looks like everything's fine. We're just dealing with a dirty carburetor. That's what it comes down to. So either the main jet is plugged up or the idle jet, it's not getting enough fuel. But the last check I want to do here, instead of leave this unplugged and connect the test light across these 2 terminals, start the bike up with starting fluid or whatever, and see if that test light lights up. And if it does, we know this feed is good, we know the ground is good, we know the system is operating as it should. So one more electrical check and then we'll attack this carburetor. One more thing I learned from the OEM owner's manual here is the importance for starting. So this electric start, the start button, I thought it was just there for kicks, that we didn't have a starter, but I didn't read the directions. So let's read. Importance for starting. Fuel tank is filled up, and this baby runs on high test, number 92, unlead gasoline or higher. You need to have the oil tank full. Turn the key on, and here's number 4. Here's where I went wrong. Hold the brake lever and push the electric starter button or kickstarter if you want to start after a long period of not using the vehicle. Please use the kickstart for 3 or 4 times, or use the electric start button for 3 or 4 times. If still can't start, follow the normal performance to start again. I don't know where this normal performance comes from, but supposedly you need to hold the brake lever down to enable the starter button. If the electric start can't start the engine, release the button, try again. Every try shouldn't last more than 5 seconds. And it says the scooter is equipped with an automatic choke. If it fails to start, contact the dealer for repairing. So I guess I'm the dealer in this case because I have no idea where Taiwan Golden Bee Limited, you might have to send this thing back to Taiwan. I don't know who the distributor is in the States or where this thing came from originally. But anyways, that's that. So let's try pressing the brake and starting it up, and do our last electrical check on the choke circuit. Alright, so we have the choke itself unplugged. There it is. And the harness side connector back probed both wires, and I'm just connecting a little test lamp right in between them. And this guy I rigged up, it's a 300 milliamp bulb from a holder from I don't know, some old motorcycle, like a speedometer illumination bulb, but super cool. Soldered on these male and female connectors, so we don't need to worry about, you know, holding a test light. So that's there. So this thing should light up as soon as the bike, you know, starts up, and it should just stay lit all the time. So let's give it a burst of the magic fluid again. Alright, we don't need the Kickstarter. So let's see, key on, got our bulb check. How am I going to hold the camera here? Let me set up on the tripod. So I'm going to focus you in on the light. Use the electric start. See if that works. Oh, gotta have the kill switch on here. Nice. Bingo. Turn it off. Excellent. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with our choke circuit. That's great news. And I guess that just proves sometimes you need a little extra information to figure out how the system works, and then you can do the proper diagnosis. So in this case, we're just going to pop the carburetor off, do a thorough cleaning on it. I'll show you how to do that. I don't know if any of you guys have messed with carburetors before, but I've done dozens of motorcycle carburetor cleaning, just, you know, manually taking it all apart, making sure all the jets are clean, and putting it back together. So after we do that, this baby should be ready for the season.